Hi, this is Mike, and we're looking at the Bitcoin chart. In this video, I'm going to talk about how you can be bullish and bearish at the same time. Now, the one thing that I notice the most about people when they don't know what they're talking about is that when you say you're bullish, it depends on what you mean by bullish, right? You think the market's going to go up, except why are you shorting it, right? Now, that determines the difference between a trader and a hodler. Hodlers are holding on for dear life. That's what hodl means, right? It's almost like a anagram for hold, but at the same time, it's like somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, right? Because they're holding on when they should be selling. Right? At the moment, I believe you should be selling. At this very point in time, cryptos is going to go down much further. Now, what people do who hold are doing what economists do, is they're extrapolating into the future. Just because something went up for a period of time, right? They believe it'll keep doing the same thing in the future. Now, this is the problem with just being an everyday person who has no idea what the hell's going on, is you're going to make these type of calls. In fact, when you see this type of movement here, you're thinking to yourself, well, it's just going to keep going up like it always has. Except Arias Wave knows better, right? It knows what these patterns mean and it knows how they work. Let me give you an example as to how I see this compared to what's going on at the small degree. This week move here, this 5 wave move here is what we saw recently in Bitcoin, right? It's a large version of the smaller pattern, which I'll get to in a minute, right? So this weak move requires a pullback, right? It's 5 waves up, moving up in zigzags, right? I'll point them out to you if you can't see them. Zigzag wave 1, wave 2, zigzag wave 3, wave 4, and zigzag wave 5, right? So what that means is after you have a weak completed 5 wave move, you get a big pullback. Why is it big? Because it's a weak 5 wave move, right? Even if you are an Elliotician, what's the one thing they say when you get a weak ending diagonal, right? Which is, this is not an ending diagonal, this is it's a leading pattern more likely. You could even say it's a leading diagonal, right? Why do I say leading diagonal? Well, it's kind of going diagonally across the screen. It's not going up like this. It's not going up like it did back in the beginning, right? It's lost momentum. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, or is it? Right? Is it? Now, the funny thing is about this whole thing is that when you're trading it at the small degree, at this point in time, you could be bullish, right? You can move up like that. In Ethereum, this move was a 5 wave move. Back here, you could have been bullish too. And at the top, you could have been screaming off the top of a mountain, this is going to the moon again. In each case, you're wrong. Up here, you could have done the same thing. It's going to the moon. Back here, you would have been right, but you still had to have this pullback before it happened, right? The thing about this move here is that it didn't have much of a pullback, so people got used to that. So when they saw this, they were in pain. The market has a good way of teaching people lessons, right? When something moves up in a straight line, especially if wave 2 was part of that straight line, wave 4 is deep, even if part of it was expanded, right? So during this time, it doesn't matter how much of a bear you were or how much of a bull. You could have said, I'm bullish Bitcoin, I'm bullish Bitcoin, I'm bullish Bitcoin. Eventually, you would have been right, okay? Because you're thinking about the future of Bitcoin. You're not thinking about the present. Now, at the moment, we're going to see something like this, but even worse because it's a larger pattern that needs correcting, right? And that larger pattern right now is only part way complete, right? So we've had wave A, wave B. Now we're in wave C. Okay. The only thing we've seen of wave C is waves 1 and 2. Okay. This correction has expanded to the downside. Normally corrections bounce back to roughly where wave 1 ended. But there's so much weakness in this market that wave E unfortunately will not make it back to 33,000. Okay. We've seen evidence of that at the small degree, right? So that's why. So you can be bullish short term and you can be bearish long term. Unless you have the understanding of what I'm talking about here, then it's best that you just keep quiet and go back under the rock that you came from, right? Because if you don't know what you're talking about, trust me, nobody else wants to hear it. Okay. Now, back to the BTC USDT chart, smaller degree talk. Okay, we have a long way to go. Now, think about this, right? A five-wave move, what does it look like? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In its basic form, right? Not taking into consideration that it's more complex than this. Now, we are only at 1, 2, right? Wave 2 expanded. What about wave 3? We haven't seen it yet. It's going to be pretty big. That doesn't take into consideration either wave 4 and 5. Okay? So that's what Arias Wave understands. It understands that corrections aren't just ABC like what Elliott Wave thinks. This is not even an ABC pattern, complete with 3 waves. It's actually got more than that in it, except Elliottician wouldn't understand that either, right? This whole move down is not a 5-wave move either, something that also you should understand. Life's a bit more complex than ABC, right? So within this wave 2 correction, we had an A, B, C, D, E. Yes, that view's changed recently because my views try slowly adjust to what I'm seeing across different charts, right? So if you're not familiar with my analysis, I cover a lot of charts. I cover oil, I cover gold, sometimes when I have an update for it. I cover, you know, Dow Jones, currencies, euro, Aussie dollar. I cover interest rates, bond yields. There's a lot of things I cover, but at the moment I'm interested in catching the top of this wave 2 because wave 3 is going to be profitable, right? But it's a slow grind to getting there, right? Now, at this point in time, it looks like we are completed for wave E, okay? Wave E looks complete, which this means it's the end of wave 2, right? So this 2 up here, right? That's what it is, wave 2. This is the top of crypto, right? My evidence is this pattern here, a week 5 wave move, right? The problem with the move that happened down is that it turned into a zigzag, which caused a bit of confusion. But I now have noted down to not make the same mistake again, because when a move is a 5-wave, weak wave move, right, it doesn't always come back, okay? It doesn't always come back the way that you thought it would, which to me is particularly concerning for the whole Bitcoin pattern in general, right? It's concerning to say the least. So for me right now, I am very carefully considering a whole range of things for the entire crypto industry. But for now, let's just stay on course with what I think is happening at the small degree. Okay, when I took this trade up here, right, I made profits up here, and I said sell when we get into this area here, which we did. All right, I was bullish then. I was bullish, but short term bullish. Okay, here I got bearish. Confirmation was when we broke this line. If we didn't break that line, there's a good chance that potentially we could move up. Okay. Now, I'm going to explain to you the bigger picture in a moment compared to this pattern here, which is a weak 5-wave move. Look what happened to price. The base was broken. That's interesting to say the least. Um, so at the moment, I think this is just carving out a 5 wave move down before it snaps back in wave two, but never to go back above this high again. Okay. I don't think Bitcoin will ever go back above $25,000 until we see the end of this correction. That is where things get funny, right? So let's just talk a bit once more about the bigger picture. All right, I'll go back to the BLX chart again. Now, this pattern that you're seeing here is a weak 5 wave move, right? And it comes after price already moved up in what I could only assume was 1-2 pattern with an expanded, right? An expanded wave two. But what happens if that's wrong? What if I'm wrong? What if 1-2 happened down here, right? Some kind of wave three up happened, right? Up to what? Here, maybe, right? Here, maybe, here, maybe, like that. For me to say that's 3 waves there, it could be, right? So let's just do this for argument's sake. Let's just say that that was wave three, and whatever the hell I was doing before was not seeing something, and I'm missing something here, right? Let's just say that's wave three, right? What happens if that was wave three? This is an A, B, C, D, E, and this was wave four, right? What happens if this was wave four? Yeah, expanded correction, whatever, right? What happens if this is actually wave five of Bitcoin right here, right? Let's get rid of the one. Let's just think about that for a second. Didn't I call this one before in a weak 5 wave move? Hang on. Didn't I just make a mistake on that? Didn't I just learn a lesson that it wasn't going to go higher? Think about what that means for a moment. It means that I'm trying to call a weak 5 wave move wave one in Bitcoin, right? That could be incorrect, completely incorrect. Wave C might extend way beyond this area. It might go back down to levels that you can't imagine, right? Does that mean it's completely dead? Well, it'll be completely dead in your mind because now you've got so many other cryptos that you could potentially put against Bitcoin to assess which one is better compared to the one that grew the most in the biggest bubble ever, right? And you got all happy about it for so long, right? That's why I track this so much at all degrees of trend, is because Bitcoin could actually go to zero. It could go very close to zero, if not all the way back down to a level which altcoins are worth right now. If you don't believe it, that's fine. You don't have to believe it. In fact, you don't even have to be watching my content right now. That's fine. I prefer that if you didn't. I don't like people watching my content. In fact, I'm only here for my members anyway, because they actually understand RS Wave. Most people don't. Okay. So let's just reflect on that for a moment. I tried to propose that potentially Wave E had longer to go. Not saying this is a Wave E. It's a 5 wave move in general. And the top of it had this pattern on that small degree. I'm trying to say that, do we really think that Bitcoin isn't going to go below this level here? I don't know. I think I've provided a bit of evidence at the small degree at the high there to indicate that that sort of thing probably doesn't happen. And there's probably a reason why these patterns occur. And they kind of like warn you, and you should have seen the warning signs when they happened, right? I understand completely that this technology is amazing, but other technology like altcoins or other projects are probably a lot more efficient and better than Bitcoin. And they too can have limited supply as well. Bitcoin costs way too much to upkeep, right? It's basically crap compared to other projects which offer a hell of a lot more efficiency and value for money. And they could even replace certain parts of the economy, right? They could. So it's almost hilarious to hear people saying that they're bullish on Bitcoin when we've just seen the same thing happen at the small degree, and you saw exactly what happened then. Did that shit keep going up? No, it didn't. What makes you think this is any different? Fractal patterns happen the same at all degrees of trend. The other thing, you can be bullish on the larger degree after a correction, after a correction. And if we haven't even seen wave C yet, and it could potentially do this, I think a lot of crap is going to zero. I think there are some projects that won't go to zero, but I think a lot of crap will go to zero, including Bitcoin. Probably go to the shit house, right? You probably don't understand that. I get it, and that's fine. But like I said before, I've seen this pattern, and I've been looking at waves for a long time. And I'm learning the lessons that I should be learning when I need to learn them for a particular reason. 2015, Bitcoin, right here. What we're seeing now, right? What we're seeing now is interesting, right? Because if this ends up going down further, this whole idea that anything can go up above a weak 5-way move is probably dead in the water. And if you don't understand that sort of thing, then you should stay away from this channel. Go watch Magic Poop Cannon as he's about to explode someone out of a cannon who's aimed for the moon in order to promote Bitcoin, right? People do some stupid things in history, right? The tulip mania, different bubbles that have occurred, right? Just be careful with what you believe in, right? Because whatever you're believing in right now might be completely false in the future, and you might look back and say, oh my God, I can't believe I was part of that crap. Be careful, I'm telling you. And be careful with what you say, because all that crap can come back to bite you in the ass. And yes, I do change my views quite a bit, but my aim is to understand the bigger picture. I also dabble in trading. Trading requires the type of mentality. There's a lot different than your everyday holder of cryptos that goes into their little wallet and buys more crap just so they can lose it later like an idiot. Okay. So it's a great, interesting place for you all to become friends, except might not be the kind of community you want to be a part of in the future. Right? Things will turn around eventually, but only if the pattern says that it's going to. If the pattern does not say that it's going to turn around, then you better be very careful with what the hell it is that you're playing with. At this stage, I can see the potential for Ethereum to be alive in the future and Bitcoin to be dead. I can see the XLM and XRP will be around. At this stage, I see that that's a possibility, right? But in terms of what I'm seeing for Bitcoin, I don't know. I think you need to make your own choice and your own decision based on what you think is right. And goddamn, learn the waves. Trust me, it's worth it. Thanks for watching.